Design in the South is personal. It's layered with heritage, shaped by hospitality, and built on relationships. That sounds like a philosophy to me, an ethos. It really is. And today we travel to Starkville, Mississippi, to explore the work and world of a designer who exemplifies what this means to design with heart. This conversation begins with an emerging trend: dormitory and sorority house design. Not typically covered in design media, but a significant driver of business in Southern college towns. Sorority living, especially, has evolved into a lifestyle market, complete with high expectations, big budgets, and even bigger wear and tear. Designing for these spaces demands durability, performance, and style in equal measure. As the designer jokes, everything has to be spray tan approved. It's a joke, but it's true. Working on a sorority house for her own former chapter, Mary Clair Cumbaa knows the meaning behind things, weaving her chapter colors, lighting, and fabric choices together to reflect both legacy and future needs, with girls living in 2-year cycles, hundreds of members dining daily, and Zoom calls replacing quiet study sessions. The design must not only be beautiful, but smart, emotionally supportive, and future forward. Storytelling is central to her work, and if you didn't capture their real life, she says, I'm not aware I would really be able to capture anything. Interesting. And unlike many designers who stage photos with clinical precision, she leaves the coffee maker and the magnets on the fridge. There's something refreshing and intentional about showing homes as they're used. It's real, approachable, and still inspiring. That philosophy carries into her project portfolio, which is both colorful and cohesive. Take the Weatherby Street kitchen. And by the way, check the show notes, click on the link. We cover all these. Clean acrylic stools meet traditional cabinetry. A built-in bar peeks into frame, and the countertop hosts everyday appliances, because that's how the client lives. That's how she designed it, and that's how it's supposed to be used. If the client can't see themselves in the finished space, I haven't done my job, Mary Clair explains, right? It's the way it should be. And there's a ton more to this, and you're going to hear about all of it right after this. At the highest level of design, the absolute best specifying designers, architects, landscape designers are all highly focused on the technology and performance of products and materials today. You have to, because the products you specify for your projects have to perform and they have to last. That's one of the reasons why I am so proud to be working with TimberTech. Their focus on the technical renaissance of synthetic decking is literally changing the conversation about innovation and performance. It pulls focus on 3 priorities homeowners have and expect from the products their designers and architects specify for their luxury projects. 1, aesthetics must match the overall design and fit visually. 2, durability and maintenance. I've told you about my board flipping stories from my own wood decks. Clients not only want beauty, but they want ease of use, and they want it to last for decades. 3, sustainably made. Clients are more conscious of the environment now, and they want the same of their materials. TimberTech hits each one of these elements with a product that not only meets expectations, they exceed them. TimberTech makes a synthetic decking that looks just like wood, color and embossed wood grain for a natural appearance. Their composite decking is technologically superior, as it has been created to last for decades, and it's manufactured with up to 85% recycled material. Their advanced PVC, vintage, and landmark collections have a Class A flame spread rating, making these products an amazing choice for wildfire-prone areas which unfortunately continues to grow on the risk map. Check the show notes for more information about this and to find the
I
nearest
have
showroom
I
or
have an odd question
lumberyard where you can
to
find
start off
TimberTech, or
with
you
you.
can check them out directly,
Let me put it in context.
timbertech.com.
So I'm a native Angelino. I'm from LA. During the pandemic, I moved to Tulsa, and my family and I, we've been living in Tulsa, Oklahoma ever since. My first time back was in 2020, and I went to a big design event. And you know how it is, you chit chat, and people are like, "Oh, I haven't heard from you. Where are you now?" And I said, "Tulsa." The more I had this conversation, I got a regular response that was some variation of "ugh" or or mm, to which I replied, "Well, when was the last time you were there?" And they've never been there. They only know what they hear. As a designer, as a creative, as someone who is from Mississippi, like you're a native,
Yeah.
Mississippian?
Uh-huh. That's correct.
All right. Do you, but you've been around too. Do you get that? Is there is it me, or is it just this? There is a definite like Midwest South.
Like,
Ugh.
yeah. Yeah, definitely. For
It
sure.
is,
I mean,
right?
yeah. I definitely see it whenever I get out of the South, like whenever I get to like when I'm in New York or um like the Northeast. I don't really go to the West Coast very much, but yeah, for sure. And people are just so interested, but I think it's because they've never been here and they've never experienced the culture.
Yeah, and if
But
you get all of your information from news sources and
right.
not, and social media, not actually going there in person, you miss so much. And with that, that's kind of where I wanted to go. It has been so enriching for me
Yeah.
to be living in the Midwest and to be traveling throughout the South. There's rich design, there's strong desire. Let's back up a second. I'd love your background. You have your BS in you have your BS in interior design, correct?
Mhm.
And
Yes, I do.
you've studied interior design history. You've studied art history. You've studied abroad, which I think is really interesting. But give me the whole CV.
Yeah. So, I actually decided I wanted to go into interior design when I was in middle school. I became interested in it, and I had to do a program through my school called Career Discovery. It was just a class we had to take, and we had to go and shadow someone that we were interested in, in a career that we were interested in. And so I chose an interior designer. And so that was in the seventh grade. And then from there, I became more and more interested. Took lots of art classes throughout middle school and high school. I've always had an interest in the arts. I've always known I was a creative person. So I really wanted to channel that into my career. And so I looked around at different colleges. Mississippi State has a really good interior design program. It's through the School of Architecture. And so I went to Mississippi State. And then the summer between my freshman and sophomore year, they offered a program, a study abroad program. And most of the time, freshmen didn't do this program so early on. It was more for like seniors and graduates, but I just didn't know where I was going to be at that time. And my professors offered the program, that study abroad program to me. And I'm really glad that I did that because I was able to go, lived in London for about 3 months and I traveled all over England during that time and was able to really get a feel for residential design. And I'm not sure if I wouldn't have had that experience so early on if my interest um, would have really sparked for residential when it did. So I took that experience and ran with it. I took history of interiors, several different classes, and when I was over there, and just got to see, boots on the ground, see everything that I learned that I was learning about, that I was reading about in textbooks. And so it was a great experience. So then I went back to Mississippi State, stayed in Starkville between my sophomore and junior year and took some of the classes on campus. And then um, after my junior year, I knew that I wanted to get some more experience in the field, real life experience. So I interned for Eric Kohler Design in New York City and did that between my junior and senior year and learned so much about just the ins and outs of a residential interior design business. Got to go to the D&D every day, pick up samples, just do a lot of different, you know, just a lot of different things where I was really able to get some great hands-on experience. Met a lot of people. Um, and then after that senior year, went back to school and then decided to move to the Washington, D.C. area. And I interned for Lauren Lease up there outside of Virginia. And so that was amazing. She was more of a small business owner. Didn't have quite, the operation that Eric Kohler did, but it was so good for me to learn, how I could potentially start out in the industry. And so I did that, loved her, loved that experience. But then quickly realized that the cost of living was a lot higher up there. And so ended up taking a job down in Birmingham, Alabama for an architecture firm where we primarily worked on lake houses and high-end residential homes and did a lot of work in AutoCAD, lots of drawing, lots of time spent at my computer doing interior elevation drawings. And that was great as well, but I decided I wanted to, you know, be able to do my own thing, be a little bit more independent.
There is so much to unpack here. So
Yeah,
I'm curious.
sorry, I could keep going, but yeah,
I'm
so
yeah,
that's my
no, I'm
story.
curious. I'm curious too, though. Working in New York City,
Hmm.
working in DC, both extremely fast paced. It's one of the things I always said when East Coasters would come out to the West Coast. They love the weather, they love the architecture, they love the art and the scene and the beaches. They just couldn't stand how slow we talk.
Yeah,
And we kind of gotta build up and everything's fast, fast, fast. So for you going and working in those extremely fast, extremely high pressure environments, then in 2016, you launch your own firm,
hmm,
you come home. What was that like for you? Do you still operate on a faster clock, or
yeah.
have you now slowed back down to Mississippi time?
See, I think that's what sets me apart. And that's why I can kind of juggle all the things because I do think I operate on a faster pace than most. I think about it but that's the beauty of coming home to me is that I can go to these places and, get the fast paced lifestyle, but then I can always come back and appreciate the slowness of Mississippi and particularly the Mississippi Delta where I am, which I feel like is just Mississippi magnified. Any persona you have about Mississippi is, just magnified in the Delta because it is such a poor region. But there's just lots of goodness to it too. So yeah, but I would say that I operate compared to most people in our area on a faster pace.
How do you cope with the fact that and listen, I had to learn this coming to Tulsa. The the trades frustrate me to no
Mhm,
end here.
mhm.
Uh, Tulsa time is a real thing,
Yeah,
and they live it. It's like when I go to visit Hawaii. You don't get anything in a hurry. And good Lord, don't let there be waves because if surf's up, you're not getting anything. But it's kind of like that all the time here in Tulsa. And
yeah.
you also, because you do a lot of work in Mississippi and Arkansas, you don't have access to a lot of the design resources. How do you cope with that? How do you manage that?
That's a really good question, and I really appreciate you bringing that up because I would say that's what I really struggle with the most. And then you have your clients that looking at the same social media that people in Dallas are looking at. You know, like everybody wants their home to look the same, but in reality, it's hard to deliver that. So it's really difficult. But what I have learned is I have to have a lot of patience with contractors, and I have to do a lot more that I think is in my job description than most designers do. Lots of very technical drawings. So yeah, it's hard, but you just gotta, and I try and be really transparent with my clients up front and say, look, you know, this is your expectation. I'm gonna try and deliver this, but at the end of the day, you know, it's gonna be hard to make it look just like this picture. So yeah, it's definitely a balance. I mean, it's hard. It's very hard.
So for you, when it comes to outreach and discovery, I'm gonna guess, but I'm curious. I would imagine that you have kind of this sphere of influence. Like you'll go to Dallas Market, you'll go to Atlanta Market, you'll go to High Point, maybe Miami, maybe DC, perhaps Boston. Am I hitting a nerve? I mean, is that what you do?
Yeah, yeah. Uh-huh. So I go to Dallas and Atlanta um at least once a year. So like I'm going to Dallas next week. And then I normally go to Atlanta in January's, but I'm actually going back in July. Just because I've got some bigger projects that I'm looking to source for. And then I go to New York as well. I've got a retail store, and so I do some buying in New York for that as well.
Do you do you go overseas at all? Well, let me back up a second before I even get to overseas, because one of the things that I noticed when I moved to the Midwest, and I have family in the South, so when I visit, it's interesting. For example, I have noticed that in the Midwest, the modern aesthetic, the modernism is really kind of just starting to trickle in now. And I think that
Mhm.
it's because it's been so popular on both coasts and it's kind of infusing to the center of the country. But Midwest, South, the very, very last to adapt and adopt. Um, I'm curious, does that frustrate you? Is that even your aesthetic or your style, or do you care because at the end of the day, it's really what they want anyway?
Um, well, yeah, so I would definitely say the modern aesthetic is not really here. There are some people that want that, and and I'll definitely always try and deliver what the client wants. But I'm much more traditional. I will say too, what I deal with, lots of my clients have antiques. They've got like family that is, that's been in their family for a long time that they want to incorporate, and so I try my best to marry that traditional style, those traditional elements that they might already have into their home. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely some people that are modern, but I don't know if they really reach out to me anyway because they know that my aesthetic is so Southern traditional.
I get that, and that's fair. At the same time, look, I'll give you an example. Induction cooking. As much as I love gas, right? And I do, I love gas. It's one of those things too that Southern cooking is based on cooking with gas. I mean, it kind of is inside
Yeah,
and out, right? Unless you're
right.
smoking and barbecuing. But when it comes to something like induction, and it changes the very nature of how the kitchen is performative. And there are things like that. There are more performative materials now. Uh, for example, I work with TimberTech and the AZEK company, and they have this performative PVC decking. And you'll talk to people who will say, I only want wood. And I get that.
Mhm.
But that's also before heat became, it's hot in the South. And in Mississippi, and I'm sure where you are in the Delta, it is hot and muggy. And then it's muggy and it's hot. And we have to deal with so many more issues now that the performative nature and the materiality almost has to be upgraded. You just can't rely, or can you rely on past as prologue?
Um, I think that goes back to what the client that what they want. Sometimes people are so specific in what they want, but you do definitely have to educate them on materials and what might be best for the setting that they're you know that where we're designing and putting the material.
How is Mississippi? How is Arkansas? How is the area in which you're working? How is that changing? Like, for example, I would imagine, I'm guessing, but I would imagine it's probably still pretty good to pick. I think I would imagine that you still get heirloom antiques. I would
Mhm.
imagine that there's still things to find. Whereas like you go to Round Top now, Round Top has become expensive and you've seen it. You're not going to get surprised. I shouldn't say that, but I don't think
No,
many people are surprised at Round Top anymore. It's
yeah,
been
I
discovered.
agree. Yeah, I definitely, because I started going around top about, I guess it was before COVID. So I guess that would have been like 7 or 8 years ago when I first started out. And I just went back this spring and it's so different. I mean, I hadn't been since COVID. And I used to could find things that I felt like were just really good prices compared to Scott's in Atlanta, which is another place that a lot of people in our region go to look for antiques. Um, so yeah, and I mean, there's still some great things. Don't get me wrong. I was just texting with someone that I met at Marburger, a French antique dealer who was a great connection, and I'm so glad that I met him um, this year. But just for the most part, it was very different than what it was like before. But there definitely are some really great antique sources around Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana, lots in the New Orleans area. Really good. There's some really good resources that are close to us that we're lucky to have that do import, from all over the world. So there's definitely not as many as there used to be, but which sadly, but there we still do have some great sources here, and that's actually something that I'm kind of looking into doing is starting to do some more importing and offering that as a retail, to a retail business because a lot of times people think that they only can go through designers to get those high-end antiques here.
Well, you have a retail store, correct?
Yeah, uh-huh. I do.
And how do you merchandise that? Does it follow your aesthetic or does it follow what you perceive the clientele will want in your region?
So yeah, that's an interesting question too. To be honest with you, it definitely started out more as my aesthetic, and I was very protective of that because I wanted it to directly reflect my design business and everything I did in my design business. But that got really hard when I started understanding more of what the customer wanted, what the demand of the customer was in the area. So we are in an SEC college town of Starkville. Like I said, I got my education at Mississippi State, and so this is my store is called the Olive Tree, and it's located in Starkville, where Mississippi State is also located. And so I definitely I've been open 4 years this summer, and so it's evolved more into what that customer wants, and I feel like it looks a little bit more. It looks different now. It's more about what the customer wants, just because I've learned so much about what's selling, what people are looking for. But it still reflects, my design business, but there's more of an emphasis through social media, through what we're channeling to try and push and sell of what is going to sell online.
I'm
and
curious.
customers.
Sorry, I'm curious. Have you found a market because you're in such close proximity to Mississippi State? Have you
Hmm.
found a market in dorm sorority design?
Oh yeah, definitely. Um, yes, to say the least. There's a
I
huge market.
I will tell you something. I think it's funny. I spent a weekend building my daughter. My daughter is in her sorority, and I spent a weekend building her headboard for her. She
Yeah.
was very particular about how she
Yeah,
wanted it
that's
upholstered and
impressive
built.
that you can build it.
Oh yeah, yeah. And I thought it was really interesting because when my daughter got to school and she was rushing, and it was parents' weekend on the floor, just to see this infusion of design. I mean,
Yeah.
decoration has always been a part of it, I suppose,
Hmm.
but it is at a completely different level. And I would imagine, I'm assuming here, you can confirm or deny, but I would assume as well that because there isn't much design influence from retailers
Uh-huh.
in the market first, that there isn't any attention paid to that market,
Yeah.
to that
That
consumer.
yeah. It's a really interesting and open market. I think the girls are I'm telling you, I think it goes back to social media too. I think they're getting all these ideas on social media that they might not used to, have had. And so yeah, I definitely have a heavy influence on the dorm sorority just because it is just such an open market and big market for our area. Um, but I mean, I have a million different business ideas that, for the market that I'm in now in Starkville, because I feel like I have such a better understanding. But yeah, um, definitely cater a lot towards those girls. And I'm not sure I want to get into the dorm design business, but I definitely want to be, you know, be that resource for them to come in and spend whatever on a coffee table book or two and picture frames and accessories.
You know what's funny though, too? They are both, we're talking about sororities. And it's funny for anyone who doesn't have college age daughters, boys are different because fraternities rush differently, but
Yeah,
especially for Southern sororities, it is expensive, it is
yeah.
competitive, it is a lifestyle. I mean, it can get crazy. So there's the budget there, but in addition to the budget, they also are so hard. I mean, if you ever wanted to test the materiality of things to see how much abuse it could take, put it in a sorority.
Well, it's funny that you bring this up because I'm working on a sorority house right now on campus. And everything is, this is going to be so silly, but it's true. Everything has to be spray tan approved. Like I have to think about every fabric and I'm like, is this going to withstand a spray tan? And that sounds so ridiculous, but like that's the reality of where I'm at right now. And so, I mean, I've got I'm like, I'll send reps an email. Please send me any high performance wipeable commercial fabric. And they're like, oh, these restaurants have used that. And I'm like, great, that's what we want. Um, yeah. So it's a very crazy business. I will say too, with the competitive nature of the girls, it's like that on a higher level with the sorority houses and the house corporations too. Everybody wants to be the best on sorority row. And so, when somebody's doing work on one house, the next house wants to one up the other. And but it's just crazy too how much money is in the business, and but I'm grateful. I mean, I'm really
Well,
grateful for the opportunity.
it's you know what's so interesting about that too? If you look at it, you can learn so much from that because if you think about it from a lifestyle perspective, the lifestyle of a sorority house. Think about this. It runs in 2-year cycles because for the most part, you have very few girls who live in the house all 4 years,
Right.
right? So you're
Mhm.
pretty much looking at a 2-year life cycle between the time they move in. So after freshman year or after first semester or quarter, then 2 years in, and then they kind of move out and go get their own apartment.
Yeah.
But you've got to have furnishings that can survive, that is personal to them, yet general enough that everyone can live there and be happy. You have to have quiet study spaces. You have to have supportive, emotional, gathering spaces. You have
Mhm.
to have sets. You really do. You have to have set
Yeah.
design, right?
Yeah.
That's got to be, it's
Yeah. It's
tough,
a
but it's a
lot of
microcosm of
different.
modern design.
It really is. Yeah. There's lots of different areas to think through and lots to cater to because there's, in this house that I'm working at right now, there's I mean 40 to 60 girls, I think, are living at the house at a time, around 50. And so that's a lot on top of the members, the hundreds of members that come in and eat lunch. So at this, these houses, they're they're eating lunch there. I mean, it's a full service operation. And so you might have someone trying to eat in one area and then also take a Zoom call in, another area. And that's another thing that, when I lived in the sorority house 10 years ago, Zoom wasn't really a thing, and so now that you've got to be constantly evolving and constantly thinking ahead. And that's what we've learned in this project is, okay, we want to be 3 years ahead. Like we want to design for the needs now, but we also want to design for those needs ahead, so that we'll be prepared.
You are listening to my conversation with Mary Clair Cumbaa of Cumbaa Design Company, and we'll be right back. The most important word in the design industry today is service. Product, incredibly important. Price, important. Selection, incredibly important. But stellar service is the premier idea that can make all the difference in the success of any project. This is how design professionals like you demand great service for your projects. And you get your favorite brands in one place with expert, knowledgeable, and non-commissioned professionals to help you specify the right product for each of your projects and get the best price. Non-commissioned, that is incredibly important. And at Pacific Sales Kitchen and Home, a Best Buy company, that means their only incentive is your satisfaction. Pacific Sales Kitchen and Home, a Best Buy company, has just that with over 60 years of service in Southern California. Pacific Sales is your destination for exploration, advice, inspiration, all the best brands, great prices, the best in the industry when it comes to service, and you know it's reliable. You know that you are going to get predictable results, reliable results every time. And now you have the Pacific Sales Kitchen and Home team to help you with their Pro Rewards program, which is a trade program unlike any you've ever experienced before. Earn 3% in Best Buy e-gift cards or 2.5% in a reward check for every qualified and delivered sale, in addition to special trade pricing, exclusive offers, access to exclusive special events, and so much more that I can't even begin to try and list it all here. And here's the cherry on top. Access to exclusive builder trade incentives from top brands and the stellar service you deserve from a company that has been serving the industry for over 60 years. Now, terms and conditions apply to the Pro Rewards program and builder trade incentives. So visit a Pacific Sales expert at a showroom today for full details and learn how you can unlock additional savings and benefits. Don't miss out on the opportunity to work with the best of the best. Visit Pacific Sales Kitchen and Home today and elevate your projects to new heights. The Design Hardware Showroom is a space where specifiers can go and find an incredible selection of high-end faucets, luxury tile, natural stone, wood floors, and bespoke hardware, and so much more. Select products are presented in a holistic manner, strategically arranged to stimulate creativity and transition your vision from the conceptual stage to a fully realized space. You will find everything you're looking for, even the products by brands you didn't know you didn't know. Surprise and delight. Am I right? All under one roof on 3rd Street in Los Angeles, just up the street from the Grove. Conveniently located, free parking available. Stop by to find inspiration, collect samples, get expert advice, and tackle everything on your specification list all in one place. Visit them online at designhardware.com, at Design Hardware and Flooring on the socials, or in the real world, 6053 West 3rd Street in Los Angeles.
It's so interesting. And it also speaks to the storytelling in the
Yeah.
work. How does storytelling find its way into your work? How do you think about it? How do you craft the narrative? Because and I will say this, having had this conversation a lot, if you talk to architects have the benefit of the work that they do. Architecture is a language.
Mhm.
So I don't want to say that it's easier, but if you understand the language, it's a simpler process to
Right.
get to the finished product. I think design is so different because it's about dialect, and it's about
Hmm.
cultural influence,
Yeah.
individual, personal, family influence, historical influence, society, culture. It's so different. How does the narrative, how does the storytelling find its way into your work?
Well, I mean, for this sorority house project, I will say I've been able to talk with a lot of the members, and find out their needs. And and I will say, I mean, this is a personal, it's very personal to me because I was a member of this sorority too. So I do know a lot of like the meaning behind things, that I've tried to weave in, the what the chapter is founded on and just different symbols and colors. And so I've tried to really weave all of that through, just the color lighting, selections through the house. um but I will say I think being a good listener is really important as a designer too, and just being able to listen to what your client wants no matter the project, so that you can weave those small touches and personalities through every project.
And I bring that up because one of the things that I absolutely love to do, and this actually started, uh, I would do them live when I was in LA pre-pandemic, but post-pandemic, once we started with Zoom, I got a chance to really do this and dive in deep to the work with you while we're talking, which is something that I love. And one of the projects of yours that I really wanted to talk about for so many reasons is the Weatherby Street project.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So
Yeah.
looking at the kitchen that you have on
Uh-huh.
your website, there is so much here to unpack. But I want to throw a few things at you, and then maybe you can tell me about this project.
Yeah.
First thing that I absolutely love, and you can tell, there's a lot you can tell by the imagery, and there's also a lot that you cannot tell, right?
Mhm.
So I'm making some assumptions here because I haven't actually been there. But I will say this appears to be a kitchen with a kitchenette. And you do a couple of things in your work that I really, really like. The first is, and I noticed this in the first shot, is that there is a bar in the kitchenette. And I just want to point out that, first of all, prior to the past 8 to 10 years, you'd never see a project from Mississippi in the trade publications anyway. But even if you do or did, you would never see alcohol in the shot. That was just kind of like a cultural thing, right? But I feel like that's loosened up a little bit.
Yeah.
The other thing that I noticed is there's a blend in modern, the clear plexi stools.
Mhm.
There's also you do something that I love in your photography. You shoot it the way it is. I think I see a coffee maker and an air fryer. I think
Yeah.
I see outlets. I see art on the refrigerator. The way that you stage, at least the way that you stage this project, I love it because a lot of designers these days will Photoshop out outlets,
Hmm.
plugs, recessed lighting, a lot of things. They'll stage it so that you'll move the coffee maker and the air fryer. You'll take the refrigerator. You'll take any evidence of life out of the images. And to me, that's the complete antithesis. It's antithetical to why we design spaces. The work that you do is about how people live in it,
Yeah.
right?
I saw, yeah, I was actually looking at Instagram earlier this week and I saw the hashtag make Instagram casual again. And I thought that was funny because I think that's how I approach um, some of photography with projects. It's just, I don't know, I feel like if I did try and crop everything out and it would just, it would be a lot to keep up with. And that's just not where I'm at right now. I appreciate that some designers do that and, totally respect that. But I just, if I didn't capture their real life, I'm not sure if I would really be able to capture anything. And and I always like to respect my clients and what they have. Um, and I don't want to take away from that.
For whom did you design this? Because there is a touch of modern in the Delta.
Yes. Yeah, and I definitely think there is a touch of modern in Mississippi overall. I mean, contrary to what you might think, but people
Not what
like
I
that.
think. No, that's
They,
why I ask, because and listen, I don't want to perpetuate the stereotypes. I really
right.
don't. At the same time, some of them are true.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. They are. Yes. But yeah, uh, acrylic is great. This client has three young children, and I like to bring that in for cleaning purposes too because it's easy to keep clean. But I feel like, and the mom is a young, I mean, younger mom. She wants to bring in some newness and some freshness. Um, so that's what we did there in that kitchen. That was a long time ago. That was one of my that was, yeah, that was a while back, but still a good long time client.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Are you a critic? Are you a self-critic of your work? Like when you look at this now,
Oh yeah,
do you just go, "Oh, I would have done so much different."
yes, for sure.
Really?
Yeah,
Why do we do
and
that
I
to
mean,
ourselves?
doesn't every
No. No. Maybe. Oh, I think you froze on me. Are you back?
yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
I
No,
don't know what
I think you're right. I do. I think we're all our own worst enemies and our most fervent critics.
yeah, I think you're right.
What would you have done differently?
Um, well, I probably would have. So we did a window treatment over that window. I'm not sure if that's photographed there yet. But I might have incorporated some of that detail into the bar too, because there's a window in the bar. Um, but yeah, I mean, I might would have staged it a little differently too for the photo shoot. But I mean, I don't know. Hindsight's 2020. I think I delivered what the client really wanted. So yeah,
Not funny. The other thing that I noticed is you have kind of a I'm looking at all your nurseries
yeah,
and I love what you're doing with them. Have you always had a thing for nurseries?
yeah. I maybe it's my age. I don't know. Because I've got a lot of friends having babies and um I don't know. Yeah, I really have. So that the the pink one on my website with the pink well, I guess there are a lot of them are pink,
Is
but
that Dixon Run?
no, that one is more recent. I love that one. But um the butterfly, it's like the big white painting with the pink butterflies from Scout Design Studio in Dallas. But um, it's got the clear acrylic crib. That one was really fun. And that client has stayed with me for a while. But I think people want nurseries to feel like perfect because they're like, this is my first opportunity to really have a room that it can be dedicated to one specific thing and function. And so they reach out to me because that's important to them to have that overall completed look. Um, so yeah, but I would say that that one with the acrylic crib really kind of was a big launching point for me with nurseries. It kind of got me some traction to do some others.
I love that. And I also see a certain a weird butterfly dreams.
Oh yeah, that one.
I also see a number the color palette that you at least that's displayed in the work on the website. And I know that for every project that's on the website, there's 2 dozen that are not.
Yeah.
But I think it's representative because obviously these are projects you chose to have on the website. Talk to me about color because you are not afraid of color.
No, I'm not. Um, and I feel like I started out a lot more neutral, but I love color. I've always loved color though. Like, and I've always like been drawn to um color in rooms. Like, and that's what I kind of drew me to interior design really. But and I think what does set me apart is I kind of choose a color palette and I like to stick with that palette. So like I like to choose a pink and maybe use 5 different shades of that pink and weave that through. Because I think that keeps everything like consistent within the design. Um, you'll see a lot of that, and that's what I've noticed as I've been doing this longer. That does set me apart. I'm not going to choose 20 different hues and mix them into the project. I like for everything to be pretty consistent. So it's, easier on the eyes overall.
It's something I do occasionally. It doesn't always work out, but I look at the website and I try to guess if there's a project that I'm looking at that's actually your project, that's your home. And I'm going to guess.
Yeah.
What's it called? Kirkwood Place.
No, that's
That's
not it.
not?
Uh-uh.
Well, let's talk about that one for a second.
Okay.
Because there's a couple of things here that caught my eye, caught my attention that I really, really liked. And the first is that you're leading off. The hero image on this particular array is the laundry room. That's never done. But I would say the laundry room has to be one of, if not the, I mean, next to the garage, the most ignored space in a home.
Yeah.
It's always an afterthought,
Mhm.
which is why it's always the most dreaded space in the home. But you kind of attack this here with the same, there are some similar through lines as I've seen in some of your kitchens with this space, kitchens and baths, and you kind of attacked it the same way. I'm just curious, why did you lead with that one? And tell me about this project.
Well, I led with that one because that was kind of the starting point for the whole project. My client has 4 children, and she's like, okay, I spend the majority of my time in my laundry room. And so I need a functional laundry room that makes me happy. And so I want color and I want it, I love blues and greens, and I want to feel happy in here. And so they were moving into this house, and she loved the laundry room and she loved that natural light coming in because that was something she didn't have in her old house. It was more of a closet, and so this one felt more, we were like, we're gonna, I wanted it to feel more like a room where she could actually have her own space. And a lot of times that's the only place she's away from her children. And so we made it a bright and happy place.
I love that. And the wallpaper in that bathroom.
Hmm.
Wow.
I know, isn't it
What is
great?
that?
It's by Tebow. It's got some birds and flowers, and it's elegant but fun and timeless all at the same time. The little bit
And
of a tradition
and
element.
bold
Yeah.
and busy and
Uh-huh.
exciting. I know, I love that. I really do. I think it's great.
Yeah.
All right, this is my second and last guess.
Okay.
Green tree.
No.
Okay. All right. All right.
Um,
Well, the by the way, the reason I chose this one is because the kitchen is a little bit different.
mhm.
And you also went with you changed up your color palette a little bit. The what I'm guessing is an office
Yeah.
with the treatment on those walls.
Yeah.
Is that a that's a paint?
Yeah. It's just a high loss paint. I've
I
actually
it's
been doing that a
amazing.
lot. Yeah. This one actually just got featured yesterday. Julie Neal, who is a designer in New Orleans, who did a collection with Visual Comfort. She's one of my favorites. Just did a collab with me and shared um, some images on Instagram, and then is doing a feature on our website, which was really exciting. This one also got featured in Mississippi Magazine. Um, which was really exciting too. This house was built, I think it was built originally in the 60s in the Eastover neighborhood of Jackson, and it was on the cover of Southern Living then when it was built. There was a putting green on their front lawn. So it's just it was a really fun project and lots of interest around the Jackson community in it because it's just such an an old historic house, but we pretty much gutted it to the studs and brought it back to life. But this client, she also has become one of my really good friends through the process too. So I'm really grateful for this one.
And I tried to get clever with it. You know, trying to figure out a designer's home is really, really hard. But I tried to get clever with it because you also had the dog just inside the front door. I was like, oh,
Yeah. Who
that's
also he just went to heaven this week. I mean, he died, and so we're really I know that was another thing about this project. The biscuit, so sweet, but yeah. So it's just that's what I love most about the design process is getting to know my clients and becoming family with them.
yeah.
So
Well, look, at the end of the day, that's really what it's about, isn't it? But you know what's interesting though? We don't talk about that nearly enough.
I know I agree.
You know what I mean? And I'm wondering if you think too, because I have found myself talking about that more with designers from the Midwest and the South.
Hmm.
And it feels like that's kind of it's almost like you're afraid to get too personal on the coast
Yeah,
because everyone's got their persona. And the more personal you get, the more distanced they are because they don't want to tell you who their true self is. But you
right.
get into the Midwest and the South, and Southerners are not afraid to tell you exactly who they are.
Yeah.
And I
Well,
love
I
that.
mean, and like I feel like just as I mean, whatever occupation you do, I feel like you have to do it because you enjoy it and because you like it. And so, that your personality is going to come through that with that. And I think it's good to share it and be real, and open with people.
Do you have a project that you've always wanted to do but have not done it yet? Because we're going to manifest this. We're going to put it out there.
Um, I will say the sorority house has been a really fun one and like a dream come true project for me. Just because it's kind of a full circle moment. I recently have completed a project too that I've been working on for about 7 years that it, we just did the install last week, and it's a 4-story house, and it's been pretty awesome too. Um, I don't know. I mean, I'll have to think about that one, but I will say I would love to do a beach house from start to finish in the 30A area. I've done a condo, which was great, but like I just love that area. And I've always said that, I'm saving for my beach house one day. And that's kind of my motivator because I love it. Um, and so I would love to do like a full start to finish house down at Rosemary or Alice Beach one day.
Okay, so not a lake house, but a beach house.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay, we're going to put that out there. Love it. Listen, this was so much fun. Thank you for doing this. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate you. I've really enjoyed getting to know you and talk to you.
Marie Claire, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. I absolutely loved it. I loved our conversation. And as someone who has lived in a fraternity, I get it. And you know what else? If your design can withstand fraternity or sorority living, it can withstand anything. It's true. It's true. And I love that. So listen, thank you for listening. If you like this episode, share it with a friend who loves design. Subscribe to Convo by Design wherever you get your favorite podcasts, and continue the conversation. Please, please, please continue this at Convo by Design with an X on Instagram, and keep the emails coming. Convo by Design at outlook.com. Thank you to my partner sponsors, Timber Tech, Pacific Sales, and Design Hardware. Really appreciate you guys. The reason why is because they are friends to the design trade near and far. They love specifiers, and the specifiers love them, because you get both service and price. You get design trade programs with all of these partners of mine, and you need to check them out to understand why. Anyway, thanks again for listening. Until next time, stay focused and rise above the chaos.